I'm Joanne Armstrong, the Supervisor for Compensation and Benefits. I'll be your guide through the FMLA and Leave of Absence training video. This training is intended for supervisors, principals, assistant principals, or anyone responsible for managing staff leave and attendance. What is FMLA? FMLA provides job protection to employees who find it necessary to be out of work for their own serious illness or to care for a dependent family member who has a serious illness for up to 12 weeks per year. What does job protection mean? Employers are required by the Family Medical Leave Act to provide employees with the same or an equivalent job when they provide a medical note that they are able to return to work. This protects their job and their benefits. In addition to illness, FMLA can be used to bond with a new baby or adopted child. Both mother and father are entitled to bonding. For a birth, mom gets 6 to 8 weeks, depending on whether it was a natural birth or a C-section. The remainder of the 12 weeks can be used for bonding. There are also special accommodations for military family members, and this extends the amount of time beyond the 12 weeks or 60 days. This can be used to help the military member when they return or assist with childcare while they are deployed. There are 2 ways to utilize FMLA. Continuous is what we think of most often. When the employee needs to be out for more than 3 days, they will apply for FMLA. With continuous, they continue to be out every day until they have a release to return to work from their doctor, or they no longer need to be out with the family member. Intermittent is permitted when the employee does not need to be out every day. Here are a few examples. Maybe they need to be out 1 day per week for chemo treatment, or they may need to be out to take a family member for medical care 3 times per month. Or they have a chronic condition that flares up, requiring them to be absent but is unpredictable. When these absences occur, the employee needs to identify the absence as an FMLA day. HR needs to be notified that they have used an FMLA day for tracking and counting the days. It's important to note that they may not identify an absence as an FMLA day if it is not related to the condition that has qualified them for FMLA. For example, if they get the flu or call out for a headache, but the intermittent FMLA is to take mom to medical appointments, they may not identify this day as FMLA. Now let's talk about what FMLA isn't. FMLA provides job protection. It does not provide pay. If an employee has a sick or vacation balance, this will be used to cover the days absent under FMLA. If they do not have a leave balance, the FMLA days are unpaid. FMLA does not provide short-term disability. However, we do offer 2 short-term disability plans, and the employee may be eligible for pay from short-term disability. The disability coverage received depends on whether the employee is a city retirement, VRS Plan 1, Plan 2, or hybrid member. Again, this is not provided by FMLA. This is a more complicated conversation, so we're going to stay on topic with FMLA. The appropriate plan will be identified and specifics about eligibility will be provided to the employee during the application process. FMLA also does not provide protection for disciplinary issues. If you're having disciplinary issues with an employee, you should be documenting and taking the appropriate actions. This process is not suspended because someone goes out on FMLA, but FMLA should not be considered as a factor in your performance assessment. At the same time, as a supervisor, you should not use FMLA to get you off the hook from doing the appropriate conversations and documentations for disciplinary issues. By law, to be eligible to receive FMLA, you must be a full-time employee employed for 1 full year and worked a minimum of 1,250 hours. Newport News Public Schools doesn't follow this to the letter. We have positions like bus drivers that are contracted for 180 days and work 6.5 hours per day. This does not meet the 1,250-hour requirement. However, we still provide them with family medical leave. We also do something we call non-governed leave. This means for new hires, we still process and track the same as we would if they were eligible for FMLA under the law. With FMLA, employers are always permitted to do more than the law allows, and that's what we're doing here. When an employee qualifies for family medical leave, there are responsibilities for all parties involved. Here we want to talk about what the supervisor or manager's responsibility is. If you as a supervisor have an employee who is out and maybe hasn't called, you are absolutely within your right to call and check on them. In fact, we encourage it. Employees are under no obligation to tell you about their personal medical condition, but they do have a responsibility to communicate with their supervisor if they're going to be absent from work. You also have the right to know how long they expect to be out so that you can plan coverage during their absence. Understand that you should in no way pressure them or make them feel guilty for being out sick or using FMLA. If they indicate that they will be out for an extended period of time, you can absolutely provide them with the FMLA application, which they will submit to Human Resources. If they have questions about their rights and responsibilities under FMLA, they should reach out to the benefits office. Keep in mind, if they are sick with a fever or something contagious, they should not show up at work or in Human Resources. They should call or email, and we will make sure they get what they need. When an employee knows they're going to be out, it's their responsibility to notify their supervisor. They're also responsible to provide a completed FMLA application along with the doctor's certification to Human Resources. The doctor's certification confirms that there is a medical need for them to be out, when the absence is expected to begin, and when it is expected to end. They should also maintain communication with their supervisor. If they need to be out longer than expected, we would ask them to notify their supervisor as well as HR. If they don't return when expected, you should absolutely reach out to them or to HR to inquire. Something as simple as, "Hey, I thought you were going to be back on Monday. Is everything okay?" Before they return to work, they should provide a release to return to work to HR. Sometimes these notes will include physical restrictions. In this case, HR will review and determine whether these restrictions can be accommodated in their position. If not, they may be required to continue to be out until the restrictions are lifted. For example, if a custodian is released with restrictions such as no bending, lifting, walking, or standing, they're not going to be able to do their job as a custodian. Now let's talk about what you can expect from Human Resources. When the benefits analyst receives the FMLA paperwork, the analyst will approve or deny the request and set up a process to track the number of days the employee has available for FMLA. The analyst will notify the employee and the supervisor of the FMLA status. Prior to the expected return date, the analyst will follow up to make sure the employee is still on track for the expected return date and remind them that the physician's release to return is needed. The analyst will notify the supervisor that the employee has been cleared to return to work and notify the employee if appropriate. If the employee has exhausted their FMLA and is still not able to return to work, the employee and supervisor will be notified that the FMLA has ended. At this point, the employee is no longer under job protection. So what does happen when the FMLA expires? The employee will be notified that they are eligible to be placed on a medical leave of absence if they are out for their own illness. If they're out to care for a family member and are still needed, they can apply for a family hardship leave. The employee may also be eligible to apply for disability retirement, service retirement, or certainly it is their option to resign as an alternative to the leave of absence. A leave of absence may be paid or unpaid. This is dependent on whether the employee still has unused sick or vacation, or being paid by short-term or long-term disability. Again, it's important to stress that a leave of absence does not provide job protection. If an employee receives a release to return to work after the leave of absence has started, they will be required to reapply. They will not be automatically placed in a position. We covered a lot of information. If you have additional questions concerning FMLA or the leave of absence process, please reach out to the benefits office at the email posted on this slide. Thank you for watching.